Hello, BookTube. Well, here it is, because you demanded it. The raucous return of Last Week in BookTube. For those of you who might be new to the channel, this is a regular feature in which I look back on roughly the last week in BookTube and talk about some of the videos that I really liked, some of the ones that were thought-provoking, and all of which I want to recommend. It's not meant at all to be comprehensive. I watch a lot more than I will talk about here, and I also am sure I missed a lot of good stuff. But it's a sort of an outlay of the stuff that I liked that I wanted to make sure I shared with you. And I did it for a long time and really enjoyed doing it, and then stopped for a reason that I can't quite put my finger on. And despite the fact that I wanted to do it, and despite the fact that quite a few of you were leaving comments saying, "Are you ever going to do that again?" I just didn't do it. I don't quite know why. But that disconnect has now been reconnected. So I am now back on track to doing this. I figure I'll just start every week this way, the way I used to do it. And I wanted to start this time around with sort of general stuff, and the biggest of which was the Bailey's Women's Prize for Fiction. The long list was announced for 2017. And that I have a lot to say on the Bailey's long list, and I will make another video. I think I'll make it right after I make this one. But in the meantime, the two videos that I wanted to recommend, there have been quite a few, and I'm sure there'll be more. But the two videos that I wanted to recommend, one was by Jennifer at Insert Literary Pun here, which was really, really good. And the other one that I most enjoyed was by Simon Savage at SavidgeReads. I'll link both their videos, but they did a wonderful job sort of talking in general terms about the long list. And I intend to make a video just like that. And then there were a couple of, there's a common thing on BookTube where BookTubers will do shout-outs to other BookTubers. I love that aspect of the community myself. And I saw two of those kinds of videos last week that I really liked. There was Katie at Books and Things who did one, and then Olive at ABookOlive. I'll put the links to their videos down below. They did two really good shout-out videos. And when you combine those shout-out videos with the BookTube newbie introduction videos that Ben Sanders does, the indispensable series of his that he does now every week, it's a lot of attention that's being spread around to a lot of good channels, and I like that. And then the other general BookTube thing that probably wasn't so good were changes that YouTube started making or continued to make. While I hadn't been making this series, YouTube instituted YouTube Heroes, censoring hall monitors that get to patrol the hallways of YouTube and say what videos are good and which ones aren't, and which ones need to be flagged and which ones don't. Hey, your shirt is untucked, that sort of thing. The kind of proto restriction, the kind of your papers please type of thing that you'll get in any kind of autocracy once its dominance becomes complete. There are no other video sharing platforms that can even remotely compete with YouTube, and the more that becomes obvious, the more YouTube acts the part. You'll never see that not happen, which is part of the reason that I rant against Amazon. And we saw a little of that last week with BookTube, or YouTube is changing on the operational level. They're changing the way their annotations work in a way that's going to affect a lot of channels negatively in a lot of ways. And they're doing it because the way their justification for doing it and the way that it ends up looking is that the changes they're making in the annotations will make it not only easier to monetize videos, but also harder not to monetize videos. And that definitely applies to a bigger and more ominous change that they did, which was to introduce restrictions on gay-themed channels. Specifically, this affects BookTubers because quite a few BookTubers have made coming out videos, and quite a few of those videos have had honest-to-God positive effects, where 13, 14, 15-year-olds in Oxtooth, Alabama, far, far from any kind of supportive community, can log on to BookTube and see their favorite BookTuber make a heartfelt video about coming out on camera. YouTube has now created restrictions on those videos for 18 and older. The implication being, as a couple of BookTubers have already pointed out, that these videos are some kind of porn, that they're somehow morally damaging And there's a way that you can opt out. There's a fairly easy process that you can change the annotations, but the fact that you can change the annotations isn't the point. The point is that the change in annotations and end cards, plus this unannounced, sudden across the board restriction in certain materials on quasi moral grounds, combine together to show what BookTube is trying to become. They point towards BookTube's vision for itself in 2, 5, maybe 6 years. And that vision couldn't really be any clearer. It's to have a channel of 100 million content creators all making PG-13 commercials. And that's bad news. That's dangerous. And as more developments happen, we should probably talk about that. There's only ever 2 solutions to a problem like this. These problems like that come with monopolies, and there are only ever 2 solutions to monopolies. You either break it up or you leave it and find your own place. I don't know. I don't know. The system now for censorship, the mechanisms for censorship on YouTube now are so off the wall insane in favor of the censors that I suspect that trouble is coming. I suspect that this will not be the last time I mention something like this on Last Week in BookTube, but we shall see. I certainly hope not. And then we go on. There were a handful of reviews that I wanted to mention. I can't help it. I know they get the least views. They have, some metrics are the least popular videos, but I'm a reviewer, so I couldn't help but notice. And I wanted to mention just a few of them. The restriction section, they did 2 videos on the Xenogenesis series by Octavia Butler. Great books. They did a spoiler-free review of the series, and they also did a discussion video. And I'll link both of them. They were both superb. A Scientist Reads did a review of A Canticle for Leibowitz, a classic of science fiction that I'm always happy to see get the attention it deserves. Paperbird, a channel that I'm relatively new to, did a review of A Heart So White that I thought was quite good. Quite sensitive, and in the time frame that I'm talking about, hands down the winner for review was David at the Poptimist doing Pachinko. And one of the things I loved most about it was that I didn't agree with a single word of it. That's what I love about BookTube, is that he's one of the smartest BookTubers out there, and he passionately loved the book, and I read it, and it bored the fillings out of my back teeth. And it was actually on my docket to review for the Christian Science Monitor, and one of the only times I went to my editor and kind of sort of talked her into another book instead, because I didn't want to spend the time hunkered down with it that you need to do if you're going to review a book. And I don't know. It could be just that I'm 28, so I'm getting on in years. But the Poptimist review did not change my mind, but I delighted in it anyway, and you should all watch it. His channel is just not to be missed, especially when he does. I particularly like his book reviews. Maybe that's just me. And I wanted to do some other things, some that weren't reviews and that weren't general, that I just wanted to point out to you because they struck me or they entertained me. The Slice of Mike, for instance. Slice of Mike is back after a hiatus, and he did a video on his most anticipated releases of 2017. And there was also there's a very good video on the same subject from the Bookables. And I love videos like that because they're a window into what really gets your motor revving in terms of books. You see something in a publisher's catalog or coming up on NetGalley or whatever. That's when you know where your real enthusiasms lie. You'll read the good stuff that comes down the pike anyway. But the things that you pick out that you're especially enthused about, that's not only revealing, but it can be infectious. And both those videos, I found it, so I made notes of books that I had not been looking forward to. Let's see here. Oh, well, we do Jennifer, insert literary pun here again. She did a wonderful video called Middlemarch Moments. I tell you, I'm bracketed with this. At Open Letters Monthly, I have the world's foremost authority on Middlemarch. And on BookTube, I have someone who's besotted with the book as well. But Middlemarch Moments was really good. I hope she continues right on through the book. Weekly Reads was done by Amber Eats Books. It's a wonderful series, really a really good way to catch things up. There are a few other catch up things too. Ink and Paper, a new booktuber to me, did a 2-part book haul that was also a kind of a catch up, and it also featured vignettes from a big and very beautiful dog. And Louise, the Big-Haired Bookworm, also did a 2-part what I've been reading that got progressively funnier as it went along. It was great to start with. Part 1 was funny, part 2 was even funnier, and both of them got funnier as they went along. It was just absolutely delightful, and also a wonderful mix of stuff. I honestly did not know what was coming, which is always nice. Jenna Moreci, who's I don't think I've ever mentioned her on Last Week in BookTube. I, of course, watch her religiously. She's a self-published author, the highest profile and probably the most successful self-published author on BookTube. She does regular writing videos that are extremely energetic and lots of fun. And she did one during the time frame that I'm talking about on marketing basics for self-published authors. And considering how many self-published authors have now cropped up on BookTube, I view it as essential viewing, absolutely essential viewing. I've been lately sort of kind of thinking about self-publishing something myself. And of course, I have the same initial attitude towards it that I think a lot of people do when they're just starting to think about it, which is, I just won't market at all. I don't want to do anything like that. I just want to put it out there and we'll see what happens. And that's not realistic. You take on the whole job when you take on any part of this job for self-publishing. And I suspect that the more I get involved in thinking about and then planning to self-publish something, the more I will be referring back to this video of hers and all the other ones, the tutorial stuff that she does on self-publishing, because it's all really good and straight to the point. And another thing, one of the last things I wanted to mention here, came from the reigning queen of BookTube, Ariel Bissett, whose channel can't be missed, and she's actually done a video since this one, but this one has stuck in my craw, and I've been contemplating whether or not to make a video response of some kind, because she did a video in which she praises short books, and it's extremely eloquent. The case that she makes for short books, how they cut out the dross and they just go straight at you with bullet pointed power. I really liked it, and she brings up a few examples that are books that I love, and their points are well taken. And I love the video, and it made me think, because of course singing the praises of short books in the 21st century, it's kind of like shooting fish in a barrel. Every study that's been done anywhere in the Western world points to the fact that the average person's attention span has decreased enormously since the advent of the personal computer, and especially since the advent of smart technology. So ironically called smart technology. So to the point where a few different academic studies have made the infinitely quotable conclusion that human beings now possess shorter attention spans than goldfish. So a video praising short works seems to me to call for a video praising long works as well. I would be happy to do that. But I want to wrap up this segment of Last Week in BookTube with the clear, if there's a winner for BookTube in the last week, then it's pretty clear. It's Alex from A View from the Bar. He did a story called Mr. Inter Buys a House, and it is absolutely brilliant. You have to see it. If you somehow missed it, you have to see it. I'll link it down below. Any description that I give of it probably won't do it justice, but you'll see right away. You'll see right away what I mean, that it's not missable. And that's it. That was Last Week in BookTube, my version for this time around. And I will see you in a week, come heck or high water, to do this again. Thank you, BookTube.